Today, we are here to have a conversation to talk about parent child communication. Over the past 3 years, we have experienced many changes: more virtual activities, fewer in person interactions, extended periods of isolation, less accessibility to one another, and increased levels of stress on families as they try to adjust to system changes. Some have adapted, and many are still trying to find a healthy balance, including myself. Throughout all of the adjustments, we must continue to communicate effectively with children. At First Steps, the health and well being of children and families are a priority. Therefore, we encourage parents and children to have an open door policy with one another amid the noise. So let's talk. Let's talk. I want to open up the floor and ask you two ladies to talk about the effects of creating an environment of open communication in a child's development, and how does it play a role in their teen and young adult years?
Well, we know just from the science and the data that the more that we talk to children, the more that they will say, the more they will increase their vocabulary. It just increases development in so many areas. So just having basic conversations with an infant is important. And so as you continue to have this conversation as this child grows up, it builds their self-esteem, it builds their confidence. They're able to go out into the world and make decisions and make them confidently. You know, the more that your kids grow, the more that they're apart from you. So that you want to make sure that when they're apart from you, they're able to make those decisions and they're able to stand up and say, this is what I want, this is what I do not want, and just be proud about whatever it is that they say. And we always want to make sure that we're teaching young people important things. So a lot of times we like to refer to, for some reason, we think vagina and penis are some of the worst words in this world. But we want to make sure that our children know that they have either a vagina or a penis, what it does, that it should be touched this way. It should not be touched by this person. It should only be washed by your parents and that kind of thing. We want to teach them those things and want to teach them how important it is to have a good touch versus a bad touch. If anything happens to them, they're able to come to you and tell you exactly what it is that happened to them. And this takes place at a young age. And we also want to say that if, someone comes to this child or this youth and says, you do not want to go back and tell your parents this, or this is just between me and you. No, this child already knows that those are things that are not supposed to be said to them, and that they will come to you because they trust you and you've already have those conversations and you can know what's going on. So it's very important that we talk to these children as young as possible and build that foundation so that they're always comfortable.
Yeah, that's good, Whitney.
It's also a foundation for healthy relationships as well, because in relationships, communication is the number one factor. So if we are talking to them early and often, using our words and not baby language, not besides building their vocabulary, it helps them learn how to communicate effectively with others. So as they're growing, once they hit those teenage years, that Whitney said, they're able to talk to their parents, hopefully, about the things that they may not normally say to adults, feeling that adults may not understand how they are feeling or what they're going through at the time. And once they become young adults and get out in the world, right, they're able to talk to those employers. They're able to talk to their professors if they're going to school. They're able to talk to other adults effectively and not use broken language all of the time, or I use broken language sometimes when it's appropriate when I'm with my friends, but in a professional setting or in school or what have you, you want to be able to make sure that you are communicating effectively to others.
So I heard two things, well, several things, but some of the things that stuck out to me early and often talk with them early and often. That was major. That's a major key. And it's never too early to talk to your children. You have to start somewhere. It is better. Well, Whitney said it to start earlier. So I mean that's super important.
You can actually start in the womb as
Mhm.
they're developing, because they can hear. Studies have shown that they can hear in the womb. So if you talk to them while you're pregnant, if your mom or dad, grandma, whoever, if you talk to the baby, call the baby by the baby's name if you've chosen a name. So once the baby gets here, they already have a sense of, we'd like to think they already have a sense of, that's my name, or that sounds familiar, or that voice is familiar. So, and that will help as well with their communication.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So, in your work and lived experiences, what would you say are the more effective ways parents, children, and teens communicate these days?
I think we were talking earlier, and I said I will text my children. We'll be in the same room and text each other, or we'll be in different rooms and make video call each other and just have conversations like we are best friends. I'm friendly with my children, right? So I I don't particularly like when people say I'm their parent, I'm not their friend.
Mm,
But at some point, for me, I had to be able to show myself friendly to my
yeah.
children, for them to be able to build that trust. And then I had to learn on their level, get on their level. I was a teenager one time, right? I felt like my mom didn't understand when I was listening to music and the music was moving me. Like, Mom, you don't know any of this. You're not feeling this vibe. I'm into rap. You don't like rap, right? So I remembered all those things.
Yeah. And remember, you said earlier you use the tools that they use. Talk about that.
Right. I use the tools that they use. So we talk about the vlogs, we talk about the blogs, we talk about what's going on in the shade room today. And then I take what's going on in current events and turn it into life lessons and ask them, if you were in the situation, what would you do? Like the terrible situation with the young lady that was killed in Mexico.
Mm,
My oldest daughter and I had a conversation about that. And she
mm,
said, well, if they weren't her friends, and if it was me, blah, blah, blah. I said, exactly. So we had a conversation of what does friendship really look like out of that tragic situation? I
mm.
use their language, I use their music, you know, I use whatever is popular on TikTok,
Yeah.
to say, what are we going to talk about today? How am I going to incorporate this in the conversation so they don't think I'm quite so lame? I might be a little hip.
And that's being involved with them. That's the way to do some effective parenting, is just being involved and showing them that you care and that there's no judgment there. They say, oh, that's my mom, that's my dad. They don't understand. They've never been there before. Yes, we do. It may have been 25, 30 years ago, but we still understand. And just talking about the small things, if you talk about the small things, the harder things are not as hard, because you know that you have that foundation there to build upon. And just always being flexible. No matter when your child wants to talk to you, if it's at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have to be to work at 6, and your child comes in the room, having that conversation and
Mhm.
being flexible and making sure that they understand that you're there. And another thing that I find effective is open-ended questions. So if I ask you both, how was your day? You're probably going to say fine, or it was good, or it was okay. But if you say, tell me about your day, then they actually have to tell you about their day. So find an open-ended questions to ask them, to make sure that they're open to having conversations, and that they don't answer and then shut off. But no, I have you here. I have you in the car. We're riding to the football game, and I can ask you these questions. I can ask you about Shaniqua dating Joseph and how you feel about that, because Joseph was just with Kiki, and you need to have that conversation with me. I need to know how you feel. I want to gossip and be, like Amani says, I am your parent, but I can also be your friend too.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Ladies, what would you say are some communication barriers?
I think parents just being just shutting off, it's my way or no way. You do what I say do, and that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. You don't have a voice. As a parent of a 4-year-old, I am one of these parents who are doing the intentional parenting. My child has a voice. I don't feel like I have to beat my child. But some parents feel like, it's my way or no way. It's an adult's conversation. They don't need to have an opinion. And it's important that they do. It's important that they, give their feedback, because it is their life and it's the decisions that they're going to make that's going to shape their lives. So we need to make sure that they have the impact that they need and the confidence and the self-esteem that they need to make those decisions.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. Children not being able to ask their parents why is a big barrier. And like Whitney said, because I said so is not a good answer. We need to be able to explain to them the why is, I want you to behave this way, or why you should not touch the stove, or why you should not be hanging out at 10 o'clock at night. Another barrier is, I found for me earlier, because parenting for me has been a metamorphosis experience, right? So early on, a barrier for me was not letting my children see who I really am, and not sharing my own experience with them, experiences that were relevant for them to know, right? Age appropriate for them to know. Like when I have a teenager and my teenager comes home and she's distraught because the guy that she likes doesn't like her, but he's talking to someone else. And then those friends are picking at me. And what do I do with that? I had the same experience at your age. Let me tell you what happened to me, because girl, I thought this boy was so cute. And I just was going to the store, bringing candy to school, and he didn't like me. I was doing all these things to try to make him like me. And I look at him now and I'm like, okay, he wasn't worth the candy. Just kind of making it a little bit more relatable. Like you'll like someone now, but 2 weeks from now, it may be somebody different. 2 years from now, it may be somebody different. And if that person doesn't see the gem that you are now, that's their loss, right? So
Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, just really being real with our children and letting them know we have bumps, we have bruises, we've stumbled, we've had failures, we've had successes. We have a story. Our children need to hear our story.
And sometimes parents just don't have the tools to have the conversations. So making sure that parents have resources, that they have websites that they can reach out to, that they know who the people are in the community to reach out to. And we're talking about parents, but we're talking about anyone who has anything to do with young people. And we refer to them as as trusted adults. So it can be a coach. It could be the mom in the neighborhood that takes on all of the kids. Maybe they just don't have the resources and they don't know how to start the conversations. They don't know what to say. They don't know what an open-ended question is, or, they're scared of the feedback that they might receive. They might not want to know that their child is having sex or that their child is dating because they feel that they're too young. But making sure that we provide the resources, because that's a lot of times the communication barriers that I see within parents and trusted adults.
And as parents, knowing that it's okay to take advantage of those resources, it does not mean that you failed as a parent. It's always something new to learn in parenting. I wish I had a one size fits all manual when it comes to parenting. I would be so rich if I did. But it is something new every day. And I need help learning. I have 3 children. Each one of my children have different personalities. I can't parent the oldest child the same way I parent the middle child or the last child. It doesn't work. That style doesn't work for each one of them. But if I did not have resources, then I would not have come to that realization. I wouldn't have known.
And the times are changing so fast. Once one thing becomes popular and we get the knowledge for that, then there's something else. We had Facebook, and then it was Instagram, and now it's Snapchat, and then they have their own things that we don't even know about. So, those resources are, they are very important because the times are changing, and whether we want to say it or not, as young as we may feel, we're old. We're old compared to these children and what they have
Right.
going on.
Yeah. And a lot of times with my children, I always think, all right, what kind of parent would I like to be for myself growing up? So I always ask myself that question. Don't tell them to do something without explaining why you're telling them, so that the next time they come across that experience, they can have reasoning behind the reasons why maybe I shouldn't make this decision. Maybe I shouldn't make that choice. So I think that's good. And resources, super important. Knowing how to speak or to talk with your children, it doesn't come easy. And sometimes it's because as children, we didn't have those experiences with our own parents. So right now, if you're confused and you don't quite know how to speak or what to say to your children, take note and apply it and use resources. And I'm sure the ladies are going to give tons of resources later on, but
And practice what you're going to say. Practice a scenario. Because you practice what you were going to say to your partner at one point in time. Or if your partner did not put those clothes up, you already know when they walk in the door, you're going to say this, that, and other. It's the same thing with your children. Practicing, you know, you know, um, you know, Googling those open-ended questions, or how to start conversations with young people.
Yeah, that's good, Whitney.
And practice is good. One way to practice, another way to practice is do a simulation with your child. Say, let's role play this out. If I were to come to you and say, blah, 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 how would you feel about that? How would you respond? That is another way to get them to open up in the conversation. Because we're role playing, we're doing this scenario, but I'm really wanting to have this conversation with you, and I don't know how to open up. So let me start. What would you do? I would say to my child, what would you do if we were in the store and I saw your best friend in the store with another boy that wasn't her boyfriend? And I'm like, ooh, I should call so and so and tell them, how would you feel about that? What would you do in that situation? And then that's one way to get them to open up. Or what would you do if a mommy just showed up at school one day and I had on my old jogging pants that you don't like, that you say are too loud and too many different colors? Would that be embarrassing? Just stuff like that, just to kind of get them to open up and see how they would feel about it.
Yeah. So Whitney, Amani, y'all both can speak to this. Whitney, you work with a lot of teens and young adults, and so do you, Amani. But what are young people and teens saying about their relationship with their parents? What are you hearing them say? What are you hearing them say their needs are?
They wish they had a relationship with their parents. Or they're wishing that they had a better relationship. I wish I could talk to my mom or my dad about what's going on. I wish I could go to my mom and dad and they just give me a hug without asking any questions, those types of things.
I think for me, it's a 50-50. Sometimes you have young people who have those open relationships and they can go to their parents about whatever, whenever. And then you have those that cannot go to their parents about anything because they will worry, they will flip out, they will accuse them of things that are not going. So I think it's 50-50 for me. But most times, if they do not have that parent, they do have somebody. It may be a friend's parent. It may be a coach. It may be a teacher at school who's younger and understands. So sometimes they don't have anybody, and then sometimes they have, at least one person or more than one person. So it just depends. It's about 50-50 for me.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that they want to build a relationship with their parents. How can parents, if let's say they kind of missed the mark early on and they're trying to start right now with their teenager, their 13, 14, 15-year-old, Like, what can parents do now to create that environment of trust?
Like I said, starting small, having those small conversations, it can be, as simple as, like I said before, what did you do today? How did you feel about, or even relating it to something that's going on in the news.
Mm,
Maybe you're watching a television show and you can refer back to that television show, that Netflix show that you all are binging,
mm,
taking time out to spend time with them to see what it is that they're doing and what they like and creating conversations from there. You can Google different questions and icebreakers for you and your young person. And you
mm.
could just make it a routine of having an icebreaker every day at a certain time.
Yeah, I
And
like.
just asking a question is like, what is one thing you would like to know more about me? Or, you know, um, let me tell you something about my teenage years that you probably would, just making it fun,
Mm,
making it so that they feel comfortable and they're interested. So I think Amani said something earlier about, even if you're listening to the radio and these lyrics are crazy, young boy, I really feel old, but listening to these lyrics and saying, how do you feel about that? Do you agree with those lyrics? You know, are you walking around with this or that?
mm,
Um, do you refer to women as this or that? So just having the conversations from things that are taking place around you.
yeah, that's good.
Yes, and also, and I like that you said icebreakers. One of my favorite icebreakers, Whitney, is two truths and a lie, right? So you have them write down on the paper three things. Two of them are the truth, and one of them is a lie. And then I have to figure out which is which, right? So if I figure out what the truth is, even if it is something drastic, let's talk about it without negative consequences. And
Mm,
let's see how we can work through, because a lot of times we're afraid of the punishment. We're afraid of getting in trouble, right? One thing I do with mine is I tell them, if you lie, you get in trouble for lying,
mhm,
right? There's a consequence for lying to me. But if you did something and you tell the truth, then we can talk about whatever it was that happened to
right,
get to a good solution. You
mm,
know, now, if depending upon the level of the thing,
right.
you may lose an electronic item for a week or something like that. But I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to lash out. I don't beat my children either, Whitney. I'm not going to spank you because you're wanting to tell me the truth. I'm not going to pop you in the mouth, because that's one way to get a child to shut down real quick, is if you hit them and they're coming and telling you the truth. And then if we happen to get into a heated conversation later, I'm not going to bring it up in your face. I'm not going to throw what you shared with me back in your face.
Mm,
I'm not going to say, see, that's why you were out in the street. That's not good, because then that closes the door for communication. And
mm,
there's like, I'm not going to tell you anything else, because what's going to happen is when you get upset with me, you're going to throw it back in my face. So,
And I think you also asked with how can parents build in trust is making sure that the conversation that you have with your young person is between you and that young person.
mm,
So if you're, because we're finding that young people are having their cycles, earlier and earlier. So if your 10-year-old comes to you and says, I'm bleeding, and you find out that that 10-year-old has had their cycle, at Thanksgiving dinner on this Thursday, Auntie Cece shouldn't say, "Oh, Brianna, I heard you had your cycle, girl. You are grown, you are mature, you can get knocked up easily." That conversation should be between you and that child. That's how you build trust. If they're coming to you, they're coming to you. They don't want Aunt Cece to know about it. They don't know about their daddy. They don't want their daddy to know about it. They want it to be between you and them. So making sure that while you're building that trust, you're showing them that you're trustworthy and that it's between you and them and not you, them, and your best friend, or you, them, and their godmother, or whoever else. It's just between the two of you.
right. And then ask them, can I share this information? And
Mm.
if I share it, who can I share it with? Who are you comfortable with me sharing this with? And now I do tell mine, now there are some things that you tell me that I will have to tell your father about. It's just non-negotiable, and I let them know if, after they tell me, I'll be like, well, I really have to tell your dad this. And then I explain to them why, if it is a safety issue or something like that, then that's something that he would definitely need to know about.
Mhm.
And I think that even as having a 4-year-old, I have to tell my husband sometimes how to approach my child. So if you have to tell someone else, telling them how they need to approach the young person, because you know how they like to be approached, because you can't go up to them and say, maybe they're extra sensitive. You can't go up to them and just say, da, da, da. You say, I understand how you feel. I was once a teenager. I was once a young person, and I understand, and maybe you're afraid, but I'm here for this, so that because sometimes we understand, but other people don't understand. So making sure that that person that we go to, that we may have to refer to, also knows the background of your relationship with them, and also the personality of that young person.
That's good, ladies. Y'all are on fire. So be trustworthy. Be a trustworthy source for your children, for your teens, and to remove the negative consequences when you are opening up the floor to have conversation. That's super important. Super important. All right, Amani, I'm coming over to you. I want you to talk about protective factors. Please explain what are protective factors.
Okay, well, with Be Strong Families, we have protective factors that we use in our parent cafes. And there are 5 of them, and these protective factors are in place to help keep the families healthy and happy and strong. And what happens is a lot of times we don't realize that we're actually using these protective factors every day, every other day, once a week, once a month. But protective factors are always showing up in our lives. And what they are resilience, and that's being strong and flexible. What parents have to be able to bend and not break if a situation arises that they're feeling like they're able to not move forward in. The next one is relationships, those social connections, those positive social connections that parents need, those positive outlets. Are your friends your positive outlets? Are they encouraging you? Are they pushing you to do good things? And then the next one is knowledge of parenting and child development. That's understanding that being a parent is part natural and it is part learned. There are things that we know inherently when we're a parent. Like you can hear my godson in the back. He's crying, right? So knowing what cry means what. And then you have to look at those developmental factors that may come up. So is my child not learning by the time he or she is 2? Do they know 10 words? If they don't know 10 words, then that may be a developmental delay, right? Or if they're not walking by a certain age, that may be another developmental delay. So learning what those things are. And then there is concrete support. And concrete support are the resources that we need. Those are the brick and mortar places that we go to get the help that we need, because as parents, as people, we all need help at one time or another. Going through the pandemic, we realized that we needed help with something. So what are those resources, those concrete supports that are in place, whether it is, um, first steps would be considered a concrete support, right? Or is it, I'm sorry about the noise in the back, or would it be like going to the food bank if you're having a food shortage? Or another good concrete support would be mental health services, right? If you're in crisis, where are you going for that? And then the last one is the social and emotional competence of children. How are you helping your children to learn how to communicate? So we're actually going over one of the protective factors tonight, right? Are you teaching them how to express themselves, how to express those different emotions, how to deal with conflict, how to get along with other people? What are we doing to build that communication factor? So those are the 5 protective factors that we have. I love them. And I often sit and contemplate on which protective factor did I deal with today and how did I handle that?
Yeah.
That's good. Those are great building blocks for families. And ladies, I guess we can kind of conclude with this. You shared a lot of information, Amani, Whitney. Great information. I think practical steps that you shared. But if you could sum it up, what can parents do? What should they consider as they go and try to create those connections with their children, their teens? What can they do? Give us some tips.
I would say consider that you were that age at one time and think about how would you have wanted to communicate with your parent or parents? How would you have wanted them to deal with whatever situation it is that you're going through? And then don't be afraid, again, as a parent, to seek resources, seek the programs that are out there, because there are a ton of free programs in the community that are made available to parents that are not trying to teach you how to parent, but they're helping you to hone your parenting skills. And most of all, they're wanting you to share your own parenting experience, because someone else is able to learn from your experience just like you're able to learn from someone else's experience.
hmm
And
And I think that finding those conversation starters. You can simply Google, you can go to the Fact Forward website, you can contact us and find out how to begin those conversations with your young people. But most importantly, I think what matters the most is that we actually exemplify what we're talking about.
Mhm.
We have to walk that walk. We have to show the young people what they need to be doing and making the best decisions. And even if we don't make the best decisions, share that experience with them and let them know what we would do differently. Because we're all human and they don't feel like we're human sometimes, but we are. And just let them know that, I am human. I have things that I do wrong. And this is how you fix it, or this is how you do it better, or this is how you communicate better. And I think that always showing your children that regardless of what they do, if it's good, if it's bad, that you still love them and that your love for them will not change.
Mm, that's good. Super, super good. All right, Amani, I want you to just throw in a shameless plug for Be Strong Families Cafe. And it kind of builds upon what we're talking about today. But just tell them how they can get involved if they wanted to.
Okay, well, I am happy that Darlington County First Steps will be bringing parent cafes, yay, to the area, I think starting in January 2023. Parent cafes are a wonderful tool. What they do is that we build the protective factors that you heard about earlier. We promote peer-to-peer learning and deep self-reflection through a series of conversations with other parents, sharing our own experiences. So you can visit bestrongfamilies.org to get a brief overview of what parent cafes are. I know we do have a Taste of Cafe coming up on December the 9th, I believe, at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you go on the website, the link is there to register. I think under either webinars or events, it will say 12 p.m. But the 12 p.m. is Central Standard Time, so it'll be an hour later for us. If you want to go in and join and just really get a taste to see what what the experience of a parent cafe. And I also share the links on my Facebook page as well whenever we do have one coming up. But parent cafes are, when I went into it, in 2019 when I got trained, I was like, oh, this is great. This is a wonderful opportunity. I have learned so much from so many different parents across the United States because we've been doing them virtually, literally across the United States, in Australia, in Canada, in the United Kingdom. I've been able to meet people all over the world and learn from their experiences and apply tips that they use with my family to see how it works. And we create a sense of community. We all need community. As parents need a community. We need a place where we can go and say, oh, let me just tell you what went on with my week, with my children, and this is how I'm feeling. And everybody can relate to what it is, to what you're going through, because we're all parents and we know what it is to have to, deal with the challenges of parenting.
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much, Amani, for sharing Be Strong Families Cafe. And Whitney, tell them about December 10th. What's going on December 10th?
So on December 10th, we will have a coffee and convo. We will begin with an icebreaker and a let's talk sessions for parents or trusted adults and their young people. And then we will watch what we have, what we call the Plan A video. The Plan A video is a 22-minute video. It's sort of like a soap opera of young people and the decisions they're making and the routes that they're taking them. And then when the parents and young people finish watching that video, we'll have some conversation and then let the young people take a quick survey. So the video and the survey will probably take 25 minutes. For every young person ages 15 to 19 who watches the video and takes the survey, they will get a $25 gift card of their choice. So we're looking for the community to come out and share. You get free coffee, free muffins, come out, share, learn new tools, bring someone with you. Just make sure that you RSVP. This is important to us. And if you're a leader of an organization and you would like some events held or hosted with your young people, ages 15 to 19, let us know because we would love to be there. We would love to give you additional information and we would just love to see your faces.
Yes, come and join us. We want to see you there. And be sure to mark your calendars for next Saturday. We're going to be talking on Facebook again, live, building on this conversation. Next Saturday, November 26th at 6 p.m. we'll be here. So I hope that you all took something away from this conversation. We encourage you to try. If you haven't already started trying to talk with your children, talk with your children. Don't talk to, talk with your children because they need you and we need them too. So we're excited about what we're doing and we hope to see you next Saturday and we hope to see you on December 10th. Thank you, Amani, so much for joining us. Thank you, Whitney, for hopping on in the evening hours. This is great and we'll see you next Saturday.
And thank you for facilitating.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Today,